Reds aren't very good. Neither are the Cardinals, though. Starting pitching was much better. And it wasn't on Friday with Monty, but then Miles Michaelis, he was really good for a nice stretch, month plus. He was bad. Waino, I think for Waino at age 41, what he gave you yesterday is a winnable start. I'm not saying it's fantastic, but if you're around the quality start, I think that's about the best you can expect from 2023 Waino. But as Jim said, just overall, the offense has frickin' vanished.
Dude, they got the fastest guy on the planet. How are you supposed to beat that?
He's an exciting player.
He is cool, man.
Ella Cruz is pretty exciting. But, like with Waino, I agree with Charlie. You're thinking, though, there's the next level coming at some point. I'm not talking about he's going to go out and give you 9 scoreless, 3 straight outings. But yesterday was kind of fine, like you said. If you do give your team a chance to win, that's kind of job number one. And you expected at some point that the Cardinals would win a lot of games 7-4. And we haven't really seen that either. But, yeah, Waino was not great, but it was certainly he gave him a chance to win. It was a winnable game. So he sort of did his job, but not great.
Not great. Not great. You got any sound back there, Cole?
Yeah, let me pull up something.
What did Waino have to say?
Yeah, that's exactly what I want to hear
from. I want to hear from the man. Let's go.
Adam Wainwright talking about how they're just finding ways to lose.
The only common denominator we've had is that we find ways to lose. We're losing in different ways every game. But today was a fairly well played game. Their pitcher's really good. I mean, Hunter Green's one of the best young arms in the game right now, and so we put a couple of runs on him. Crooked Number took a lead, had a lead going into the 6th, and didn't work out like we wanted to. But it is seemingly a thing where we're losing by 1 a lot.
Yeah. It is. 16 games. They lost by one run. I don't know.
And there's been some where they get blown out too. Let's be real about it. It's hard to fathom. Look, everyone had questions about the starters. Did they have enough depth? Would they be okay with that? Offensively, still, if you look at team stats, the Cardinals are okay offensively. But they go through these droughts, and if you have the 4 guys I mentioned, that's half your lineup.
Yeah, I know.
It's that seemingly came out of nowhere. Really.
Trade all of them, Charlie. Right? Get rid of all. Hey, Tyler Neal's coming back. We're good to go.
Okay. Trade a lot of them. How about trade? Yeah. How about trade 4 or 5 of them?
That's it. Just 4 or 5 who?
Well, I think you got. I think if the Cardinals are still 12 games under, probably makes sense to trade Flaherty, Montgomery, Hicks,
Goldie.
I would not. I don't think the Cardinals are going to trade Goldie. I know it's fun to talk about, but the Cardinals want to win next year. Why would you not want Goldie on your team next year when they try to win again?
I hear you.
They're not trading.
But then you're kind of all or nothing with him next year, unless you're going to overpay for. Somebody's going to overpay for him after next year, and
probably the Cardinals.
Well,
I'm not saying that's right, but the Cardinals are more likely to sign him to an extension, in my opinion, than trade him.
What kind of
Kat,
extension?
what do you think?
7 years. 7 years.
No, like 2 years.
Yeah, I agree. Goldie's not going anywhere.
Okay.
I mean, in my opinion. I think Charlie's right. They have a team on paper with the players that are coming back. They have enough talent to add to and then be winning again, which you would think would be their number one goal. I don't think Goldie is part of that equation on how they get better.
My issue is just because of his age. I think he's really good right now, but you're flirting with some sort of cliff, and I would hate to have him on my team when he falls off of it. And so that's why I think with his contract expiring at the end of next season, somebody's going to be paying for his years 37 and 38, and I'm not so sure that I want to be the team to have that. But I think he's a very valuable player. I think he can get you something, but aside from that, I think you got a couple roles to fill. Of course, we got starting pitching. You'd like to add someone to your staff, a big-time pitcher.
You're going to have to.
Yeah, and I think you need somebody on the back end, too. I think that we've had a lot of contenders for closers, and none of them have taken the job. Helsley and Gallegos are both really good in the 8th inning and really bad in the 9th inning. Their stats bear that out. So I think you need a surefire 9th inning guy. So the staff needs bolstered both in the starting rotation and at the back end of the bullpen. And I'm curious to see what this outfield is going to look like next year because we've had how many different combinations?
A lot.
So Jordan Walker is definitely going to be one of them. And then we'll kind of see from there. If Mason wins up here at that point, then you can kind of move Tommy Edman to a full-time outfield position if you want to.
I think that's the plan.
So,
Tommy ain't going to. They love him in center,
like,
and he's shown well. He had 10. I think yesterday was his 10th straight start in center field, and it's hard to believe how good he is. I mean, that guy. He's played some right field. He's been in left. He's been in center literally a couple of times in his career. And you look at the breaks he gets, the jumps on ball. He's been outstanding. I don't think he's going anywhere. I think the plan would be Mason Wynn at short and Tommy Edman in center, unless there's some plan I don't know about. It seems to make sense.
And then I guess Nootbaar and Walker be your corner outfielders, or Burleson maybe if he comes on. But at this point,
well, he had the most important home run a couple weeks ago, didn't he?
The most important solo home run of the year.
Yeah, that's what it was.
On a Wednesday.
Yeah.
You know, in
Texas,
in the Central Time Zone.
Let me ask you a favor. Can you cut Chip a break? Like, let's be honest.
Why are you chirping?
Let's be honest.
Chip chirping.
No, let's be honest.
I'm
like,
Chip chirping.
When Chip said at the end, going to break, Waino was great. I was like, here it comes. And sure enough, on our group text, look, it's very difficult to stay excited and positive. And that's part of what the play-by-play guy's job is. And the Burleson home run in a drought of losses gave him a win. So I understand exactly what he was saying. To chirp every word, I'm saying, give my man Chip a pass. He's doing a great job.
I like Chip Carey. I think he's got a fantastic voice.
You know the best place to go for lunch? Penn Station East Coast Subs. Penn Station has hot grilled subs. Those fresh-cut fries are awesome. Yeah, you'll probably eat too many, but they are so good. Oh, and fresh squeezed lemonade. The chicken teriyaki, incredible. But people also love the Philly cheesesteak. I mean, how could you not, right? It tastes great, and they make it right in front of you. Yeah, whether it's online ordering, in-store, or sports season catering, you gotta love Penn Station. There's one near you. Go now. Penn Station East Coast Subs.
I think he's got great energy. I just thought that was a very specific stat.
That's okay.
That's all right.
You tweet that, man.
You're an American. You're allowed to talk.
I thought it was very specific.
That one didn't bother me, though, because they're on a 5-game losing streak. That was a huge homer. My take overall would be more...
And they had no offense. They had zero offense till he...
I just think we've kind of lowered the bar. I think we've lowered the bar expectations-wise on what we call a very good start or a very good outing.
I know.
When guys aren't even going... Listen, I know that Major League Baseball pitchers don't go deep. They don't. And if you complain about the Cardinals, look at everybody else.
Yeah, you're right.
Because until I looked a couple weeks ago, I was shocked at how the fact nobody goes deep. But still, I think if a starting pitcher doesn't even reach quality start status, and we're now 2+ months into the season, so it's not like guys are on an 87 pitch count. I think you can say, hey, just if you give us 6 and 3 earned runs or less, that's fine. But I don't think we need to basically say all these starts are great if they're not, because I think Cardinals fans watching, they know better. And also, hey, Cardinals, just lie.
Yes.
Just
Do that.
lie.
Let me,
When in doubt.
Let me give you the other side. The lowering the bar thing, there is a lot of positives to that. For example, if we didn't have a lowering the bar look at things at 590, we would not have a morning show.
No.
So
I disagree with that.
you don't think
We're better than the Cardinals. We're actually way better than the 2023 Cardinals. You can say what you want about this show. I'm not saying we're great, but we are better than the Cardinals.
Dang right.
Let me ask you this:
It's not even close.
If hot
And the
take,
Blues.
if hot take,
and the Blues.
if hot take Central were a pitching line, what would our pitching line be?
I think it would be a quality start.
That's a great
Look
question.
at that,
break it all
Charlie.
down.
I like
We're
it.
doctors.
I think it would be 6 innings, 3 earned runs with a lot of soft contact.
A lot of soft contact. That's all. Soft contact.
Like
man.
Not a
9
lot of
hits.
strikeouts, though.
9 hits, so the whip is horrible.
Yeah.
Horrible whip.
Yeah.
But we give you a chance every night.
There it
We
is.
give you a shot.
If
or
there's
every morning.
Contact.
If 3 people are talking at once or 2 drops are playing on the air at once, does that count as an earned run or an unearned run?
That's unearned.
Pitching
It's
violation.
our error.
That's all. Yeah, yeah. Although they like it, the fans like it, which is kind of odd,
wild
but they do.
pitch.
Hey, do we got Joe on?
Yes.
Joe, what the hell's going on?
Drop some bombs.
Joe,
How's it going, guys?
what up, baby?
Hello.
What's
Morning.
up with you?
Well, after watching another dismal Cardinal weekend of baseball,
a couple things come to mind here. Wilson Contreras. Can someone explain to me why is he batting? Why is he continuing batting fifth? He's batting 204, correct? With like 4 home runs and 20-something RBIs. I think it would be hard-pressed, guys, to find another number 5 hitter in baseball yesterday with worse numbers than that. Then you mentioned Paul DeJong. Paul DeJong's becoming the Paul DeJong he's been for the past 3 years, which is one of the worst offensive players in Major League Baseball. Everybody loves Tommy Edman. I think Tommy Edman is a tremendous defensive player, but his offensive numbers, seriously, are highly questionable. They're not that great. So at the end of the day, when you look at the box score, you see 3 runs, 7 hits. Nobody should be that surprised by this. And it's guys, it's not just the stats. They can't do anything right. I didn't see the play Saturday, but I guess it was 2 on, 2 out, ground ball to Aaron out at third base, took an extra step, whatever. Guy beats him the bag, bases loaded. Next guy gets a base loaded double. Now you're down 3-0. We mentioned Gorman and Arenado screwed up on the base passes a couple nights ago, cost them a run. The first game of the Pirates series, guys, they're up 5-0. They had the bases loaded in the 5th, 6th, and 7th innings. They don't score. Jimmy, you mentioned what the runners in scoring position. The last 12 games, they're 9 for 71. Oh. That's hard to do, okay? Yet we keep talking about the division. I don't care about the division. I get Milwaukee just got swept by the flippin' A's. For me, you have to go back to the mid-'90s before La Russa got here for me to see this bad of a baseball team. So they're 12 games under. We all know that. So it doesn't matter about the division. Unless you guys think the division winner is going to be under 500,
maybe
this team gives me no indication whatsoever they can turn anything around. Thanks.
All right.
Well
Joe,
said.
what's up, Big Joe?
Look,
Thanks for calling, buddy.
The truth is,
He's better than us.
they come home. Yeah,
He is, man.
They come home against the Reds, and I granted they brought up their prospect. They got a little energy now. You're supposed to beat them, and you can't beat them. And little things happen. The Contreras tag where he drops the ball, the throw from DeJong. But I will say, when Joe lays it out, it's kind of like it's too serious. It reminds me like if you go to the doctor with a boil on your toe, and he's like, "It's infected, gonna have to amputate." Like he's very serious, and he's bringing you bad news in a very like one level diatribe.
He's a pissed off fan. He's speaking for the people. I appreciate it.
I'll say this, Joe. That was a shove. That call was a
That
shove.
was a shove, man.
Shove call.
Shove call.
Joe's a wily veteran in this game.
I actually thought that was one of his calmer ones.
And you know what else?
Great.
He didn't name call.
No, he didn't.
That's what I like.
No, yeah.
I like guys. He brought numbers.
Exactly.
He brought a take, and then he backed it up, and he didn't call anyone names.
Well, I don't mind that once in a while. But what are you going to say, Charlie?
Well, he did bring up Contreras' offense, which he should have. Also, that final run. Listen, I know Jordan Hicks is not easy to catch, but Wilson Contreras was kind of boxing everything. Yeah. Not just the throw home, but allowing Ellie to advance as well. And Jordan Hicks is nasty. He's throwing 103. Everything he throws is nasty, but still, the lack of quality receiving in that inning is essentially the reason they scored the run.
Him getting to third was as big as the play at home almost. And the throw wasn't good.
Wasn't good.
But the play should have been made.
Yeah.
It's a backhand.
Yeah, I get that.
Go to backhand the ball and then tag. And he had time to do it, and it just didn't happen.
Get him in, by the way, 855-282-8255. Charlie, you put your hand in the air. What do you want?
So what we're saying is, other than the fact that we're complaining about Contreras' offense and his defense in year one of the 5-year deal, other than that, it's fine.
Yeah. Other than that, it's A-okay.
There was who was it that said, I just don't know if he's a middle of the order guy. When they liked the signing, but they wanted another guy in there.
Who said that, Jimmy? Is somebody on this dais?
So you're already saying he's done.
The grinder.
No,
55 games in, he's done.
Well, that would be your take, which again is wrong, but put it on YouTube. What I'm saying is, I wish they would have gotten another bat to put in there too. That's I was killed because I was like, I wanted Quintana, didn't happen. I wanted some length in the in the rotation, but I wanted a big bat in the middle to make sure that we're leaning on a lot of these guys. And what if they don't produce? the lineup isn't going to be as long as we thought, and I think that's coming to bear as well. But Jordan Walker's been great.
Wilson Contreras is batting 144 in his last 32
That ain't
games.
bad. That ain't bad.
No, it's terrible.
Everyone, like I said, he was 4 for his last 51. Like, yeah, when a guy's not hitting, you can go in and grab a stat and say, yeah, because it always works out. The math is always – it's not been good.
That's all.
He was streaky in Chicago, though. Like, he does hit in bunches. So
I agree.
He might flip it around in July. Who knows?
Oh, Jackie Boy chimes in and goes, Carlson looks good at least. He made a nice grab out in the outfield one of those games.
Jim, are you surprised that Edmonds playing center even with Carlson back?
No, because they felt like he might be. They felt like he might be their best defensive guy in center even before that was the case, because they just like the way he plays the outfield. But I will say the addition of Carlson. You can talk about the offense, and that's the main thing. No one's crushing the ball right now outside of a couple guys. But defensively, where things are going wrong all over the place with Edmund in center and Carlson in right, you kind of feel like balls are going to get caught out there, which hadn't been the case. That is a positive.
Nobody has brought up how Flaherty got teary-eyed talking to the cat before his start this weekend. Jackie Boy wants to know. Did he get teary-eyed with you, Jimmy?
I didn't notice he got teary-eyed, but I thought it was a good chat. We talked about sometimes he's a little cranky in his post-game interviews.
Nah.
It was nice. We talked about velocity.
I enjoyed that.
Thank you.
I watched it. It was good.
Didn't you seem like I told Jack, I'm going to talk about all this stuff, so we're going to do it. And he was fine, right? He's a nice guy.
And he said he needs to get better. He needs to get better about turning off the bright lights after start.
Yeah.
But it's hard.
But, I mean, it's hard to see the ways these guys act in the post-game sometimes when they're cranky. Miles Michaelis was like Mr. Yes, No Answer after his start. He was obviously ticked off. But Flaherty explained, he said, when you're on the mound, the light's on, and you're fighting for everything. Yeah. And then he said, I forget to turn the lights out when I go and talk to you guys. I need to do better on that. But
that's
people
reasonable.
are like, he's not a good guy. He's a really good guy. Oh, you're scared of. I'm not scared of. Like we talk about all these things. It's not a big deal. Oh, he said you didn't know anything about pitching. Well, he knows more about pitching.
Yeah.
And he kind of referenced the fact that maybe he needs to be better in that scenario.
He didn't say, though, I know more than you. He didn't say, I know a little bit more. He said, you don't understand pitching, guys.
He needs to be better. Didn't he take sort of responsibility?
No, I like that interview. By the way, Miles Michaelis, I enjoyed that interview because he was clearly frustrated, so he had the one-word answers. But he had the one-word answers all the way up until the question about Tommy Edman, where he was then fine with going long and giving Tommy Edman credit. So he wasn't a jerk. He just was very mad at himself because he didn't pitch well. But the second that somebody brought up a teammate, he went into a long, nice answer crediting Tommy Edman. He was just mad at himself.
That's a good point. Because he wasn't rude to anyone. You could just see, and Miles is a smart guy, and he's also, for a reporter, in terms of media, instant offense, because he's hilarious, he's well-spoken, and he's thoughtful. He's a really funny guy.
Yes.
You could tell he went into it saying, you know what, I'm going to show my frustration with my answers. But when he did talk about his teammate Tommy and went into a long one. But I think I'm pretty sure I saw him tell Kisner to get the bleep behind the plate when he came out and talked to him. Like when everyone came out, if you're Miles Michaelis, you know how to pitch. You're a veteran guy. And he just didn't want to have a little powwow. So I'm pretty sure I'll ask Kiz about it. Looked like he said, get
back
behind
over
the
there.
plate.
I get you. Swimmers are by far the best athletes, or sorry, let me rephrase this. Swimmers are by far the fittest. Trust me. My daughter swims about 5 miles a day. Chef Todd, yeah, swimming's tough, man. Like it truly is. That's a damn good workout, and it's easy on your body too. You know what I mean?
Swimmers. I think a soccer player is fitter than a swimming sprinter.
You guys might have already talked about this, but did you see the Canadian golfer get speared by the security guard on the 18th green last night, Richie Pilon? Yes, I did. So what's his name? The Canadian that won the.
What was that about? I saw the video and I didn't know the context.
I think it was another golfer, right? And
his friend.
It was his buddy, and he's like coming
No
on,
way.
who I think he had clearance, obviously, and he's going to come celebrate on the green with his buddy, and the security guy sees him and goes, no, and like literally beelines it and spears him like Ray Lewis. And they're all like, no, wait, he's part of us. It's pretty funny, man. What's the guy's name? I just had it in my notes.
Nick
Not
Taylor.
important.
There we go, Nick Taylor.
They're
Charlie.
Canadians.
Oh, that's right.
Oh.
Starting wildfires all the damn time. Eating poutine.
Turning New York orange.
Excuse me?
Excuse me?
Poutine.
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 It's just
Nasty.
just French fries. No, it's good. French fries are gravy with some cheese curds in there. It's pretty
Go
good.
find some poontang.
I didn't say that.
Oh, you did
No,
say
that
that.
was somebody else. Let's
Poontang.
nasty ass stuff, man. God.
This is when our vocabulary betrays us.
Yes, it does. Let's see here, man. They keep coming into. Let's see. Jim, I enjoyed your superhero segment. You look good as a Hawk, JoJo.
Yeah, you didn't see that one?
What day was that?
So
Day I was flying, or at the game, or when?
it was Wednesday. Yeah, it was. I think
Are you
Wednesday.
flying?
I think I was busy that Wednesday night. Was that Wednesday? Was that Wednesday?
Anyway, things weren't going particularly well for the home team, and we had done features at spring training that we parcel out during the regular season, and one was which Cardinal, asking the team which Cardinal would be a superhero, who would be the best superhero, and all the people they mentioned, they put into like superhero garb, and then at the end they put me and Brad Thompson. I was the Hulk, and
I did see that.
he
Jimmy.
was
I did see that, and I liked it on Twitter too.
whatever the one thing with claws, Wolverine. He was
Wolverine. Heck yeah.
Fans love those segments in the middle of 5-game losing streak.
Oh, Charlie's
Yeah, and
throwing
if-
bombs again.
And if they didn't, then it would be on me because I said I want to have fun tonight.
What are you supposed to do?
It's a pregame show.
I know, I'm joking.
Let's have fun.
Burger phones.
What are you supposed to do, Jimmy?
Jimmy, all inclusive.
Gotta entertain the folk,
You
man.
do. You do, though. You have to entertain people even when the team is 12 games below.
And I'll say this again: when I hosted postgame after a loss, I came on and said awful. No, actually, they won that game though. Pre-game, I called the way they were playing awful. Yeah, that's the way it's been.
That's
of course,
on.
when I was on set, then they won that game, and then I thought because I had been off, that's why they were losing.
Yeah.
And then now I'm sidelined again, and they lose 2 out of 3.
I hate to say this because I don't like to throw bombs, but this team feels like a bunch of losers. And I say that just
Clip
in the
that
sense.
off.
Yep.
No, they just are a losing team. Cam, you mentioned the 16 games, whatever it is, of losing one-run games.
Yep.
That means you have a lot of opportunities. If you lose or win a one-run game, there was probably 6, 7, 8 plays throughout that game that could have swung it for yourself or the other team. And this team just feels like a team that is much more likely to lose 2 out of 3 than win 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Ali said that they are in a position now where they kind of got to be perfect in order to get back in it, and that puts a lot of pressure on the team. Look, Charlie's right. Even when they
Go to break.
hit, they don't pitch. And then we see fielding plays, miscues that we haven't seen before, and we see base running mistakes that aren't the norm for Cardinal teams.
And even what you said earlier, and I don't know if Tommy Edman's going to be the center fielder of the future, but he is right now. But even saying that, although he's playing a great defensive center field, it's kind of crazy to say that when you think about entering the year that we all talked about the fact that there were too many outfielders and we had to figure it out and sort that out, and hopefully 2 or 3 of them performed and maybe 2, 3 others got traded. It's kind of crazy that 60, 70 games in, we are now talking about Tommy Edman potentially as the center fielder of the future. Think about that. With Lars Nootbaar and Dylan Carlson and Jordan Walker and Alec Burleson and Tyler O'Neill.
O'Neill, yeah.
We're now talking about Tommy Edman, who was shifted to shortstop. I mean, he's more a natural second baseman or super utility guy. And now we're potentially talking about him as the center fielder of the future.
I'm not so
Kinda crazy.
I'm not so positive that's set in stone. I know they're.
No, I didn't
looking
say
at-
that.
No, I didn't say you did. I'm just saying. I mean, if he's starting every game, we'll see what happens when Newt comes back. He's on the IL as well. He's pretty good in center. Well, they got to figure it out. But the way Tommy Edmonds has played in center, or Tommy Edman has played in center, has been really, really good. And that's something we haven't seen a ton of, where balls hit to the gaps, the guy's going to track it down. I think last I looked, or at least going into yesterday, his catch percentage was 94%. And if you get the computer average of what the average would be for the balls he's faced when he's in center, 85. So he's well
Okay.
over the norm based on the stats. It's not just the eye test. Even the metrics say he is a superior center fielder in a small sample size.
Yeah. Oh, he's an absolute gamer. What I just said was in no way, shape, or form an indictment of Tommy Edman. It was of everybody else that we thought they had too many outfielders, and now you're forced to use Tommy Edman in center, even though he's doing a great job.
You hate Tommy Edman. Just say it. It's all good.
No, actually, I love Tommy Edman.
So do I.
He is a dude. You want Tommy Edman on your
Damn
team,
right you
man.
do.
That dude walks into the ballpark with a bag with about 8 gloves, and every glove he puts on, you trust him defensively. And as a pitcher, you love that guy.
And your point is actually well taken. At the start of the season, you're like, how's Tommy going to do in center? What?
Yeah, no,
be
that's
like,
what I'm saying.
What?
I know.
No,
That's all.
I agree with. Here's my question, though, for the baseball partisans on the panel. Like, if you're working out deals and scenarios, which the Cardinals are, as they're getting ready, to hit the trade deadline, and they're thinking of all the possibilities. When you look at Donovan and Tommy, and I like them both, and I think you want them both on your team if you can, but you have to give up something to get something. I think sometimes fans forget that. You can't package up your worst stuff and get the other team's best stuff.
Ring that bell.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
But Tommy Edman and Brendan Donovan are very interchangeable. They have different strengths, but they kind of do the same things. They don't let Tommy play first base, Brendan says, because he's a little shorter. And we haven't seen Donovan in center because Tommy's a little faster. But otherwise, what they do is kind of similar. Do you think one of those guys, do you think both are staying, or do you think one of those guys is part of a potential trade?
Long term, I think it makes sense to move one of them. I would probably, even though I love Tommy, I'd probably keep Donovan because I think his offensive upside we saw last season is a bit higher. I also think he's younger, so you have more control. And at this point in his career, he's cheaper.
Do you think that's a fair assessment that they're sort of interchangeable?
Yeah, but I think we had this conversation on the fantastic Hot Take Central Sunday edition yesterday at Mini of St. Louis.
12:36.
At 12:45?
You guys,
11:36. Hey, if you're gonna
joking.
chirp, get it
Saying
right.
if you're playing for the
11 to
Blues,
1.
if you were playing for the Blues and you do a post game
Yeah.
and somebody interviews you and you're like, oh man, Walt was terrible today.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, you're gonna say that?
Yeah. Matty Kachuk was terrible the other day, too.
You
So
said
I
that
just
if
doubled
you're still
down
on the
now.
team, if
I
you're
just
on the
doubled
team,
down, didn't I?
No, if you're on the team is what I'm saying. This is Team 590, baby.
Yeah, I would.
All I'm saying is you can have that conversation about Tommy or Brendan Donovan, but you can have it with like 8 people because even Gorman's awesome offensively.
Yeah.
Where's he going to play? Jordan Walker, you love his upside. Probably would want him to be a first baseman long term. Goldie's there. I mean, look at both Walker and Gorman came up as natural third baseman. Well, you got a Hall of Famer in Arenado. My point is you have a bunch of players that you'd think you like them offensively. You don't really love defensively any of these alignments. Like every night, Ali has about 2 guys or maybe 3 that he's like, that's their position. And then he's rotating the other 6. It should be the opposite. You should go into a game and hopefully 6 or 7 of your guys, you know where they're going to play defensively, and then you rotate a couple based on rest, DH, matchups, etc. The Cardinals are the opposite. Like, who do you like long term in their defensive spot? Goldie, Arenado. Who else? I'm talking long term for the next 3 years. Who do you feel comfortable about?
Well, maybe Carlson. No.
Okay, in a spot. Do you feel comfortable Gorman as a long-term second baseman?
No.
Okay, do you feel comfortable with Paul DeYoung as a long-term shortstop? Probably not going to be here.
Absolutely.
What about Mason Wynn? Are you
Long-term
talking about guys
shortstop, bringing
on?
back Paul DeYoung for the Cardinals?
No, I'm saying he won't be.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
don't think he'd be here very
There's about 3 guys that you feel good about of where they played defensively.
But I think what they're asked to do in terms of this team with Donovan and Edman, it's very similar. They have similar utility roles on this team. One thing about Jordan Walker, if I may, so his defensive shortcomings were put out in front for everyone to see over the weekend, and he's such a good kid. I asked him, "Can I ask you about it? And just get your thoughts?" And he's like, "Sure." And he said, basically, he just wanted people to know, I know I'm not good there yet, but I want to be, and I'm working on it. I'm out there. Just the look on his face, he was like, I'm working on it every day, and he is. And he said, I know those line drives, they're hard. I got to do better on that, but I'm working on it. It was almost like he wanted fans to know he wasn't just taking it lightly. He knows he has work to do. Good kid.
Charlie, do you think Gorman's the DH for his career?
Well, that's kind of my point. I don't know. I think Gorman probably as a third baseman or a first baseman, you're feeling pretty great about. But as a second baseman, 140 games a year, that's my whole point is that the Cardinals don't have a lot of guys that you set it and forget it defensively. I think it's hard to roll out an everyday lineup when basically kind of he can play sec. He's a bat, but he doesn't really play that position. Well, that's everybody.
I think Gorman can be a second baseman. Maybe not a Gold Glover. We've seen some improvement. We've seen some shortcomings. Got a big arm. I think he's more agile than I ever anticipated he'd be over there. But at second base, there's a long history of people with no position being put at second base. I think Gorman could handle it long term. He's not there yet, and I don't know if that's the course. With Mason Wynn coming, clearly that would be the move to put him at shortstop eventually.
Get him in. 855-282-8255. Let me rattle off some of these bad boys, and we'll take a little break here. It was a great weekend for the Canadian athletes. Canadian fighters went 6-0 in the UFC in Vancouver, and the Canadian golfer was a PGA event in Canada. Too bad Canada is governed by a fascist dictator, Babroni. Classic Cardinals. When they're playing like crap, they break out all the QTBS, Wombat.
What does that mean?
What was their QTBS this weekend?
You guys tell me.
Maybe he meant the superhero feature, and it wasn't even this weekend. It was
it was last week.
And I did that. That was me.
Well, maybe
Jimmy
that's a shot at you.
It was a shot at you. Wombat,
Okay,
you taking a
fine.
shot at Jimmy?
How dare
fine.
you? Only we do that.
Only we do that here. Play to win next year, and, well, James, you have a crap bullpen and no starting pitching sign for next season, and a front office who has shown they refuse to spend money to fill the rotation in the offseason, and in the next offseason, expect from Mats. Oh, God, I screwed that up. Sorry, Wombat.
The point's well taken. And that's why, and I know that this is not the most realistic scenario as we've discussed, but I think you should, if you're in this position a month from now, you should be making calls about Paul Goldschmidt. They're probably not going to, but I think that because of the text, what they just said about not trusting them to spend a ton of money on both a top of the rotation guy and a closer, two roles that you really need, I think it'd be in your best interest to make a big time move at the deadline to prepare for next year, because I don't think that you're going to spend that much money on those two guys.
What closer, spending big money on a closer has been proven to not work time and time again, because there's a shelf life on those guys. Like starters, I think it's a little different. I'm not saying there's not some closers that have been really good for a long time, but there's a track record of teams investing in closers and it not working out. I mean, the Cardinals did that with not a closer, but a guy like Cecil at backfire. I don't think they're going to spend a lot of money on a closer. Would you be right to say they should spend a lot of money on a starter? Yes, because that's their biggest need. Look, Helsley isn't a guy that you're going to get 2 innings from 2 straight days. He's not a guy that's going to work a lot. But when he's healthy and he's used right, he's really effective. He is.
He's blown like 5 to 7 saves this year or something. It's the 9th inning that's a problem. And Helsley and Gallegos are both fantastic in the 8th inning this year. They are both horrible in the 9th inning. Their ERAs are like 4.5 and 5 in the 9th inning, and in the 8th inning they're 1 and below. It's crazy the difference. And I credit Bob Ramsey a lot, because I used to kind of be like, what's the big difference? You go out there 8th inning, 9th inning, it's still close either way. But he's like, no, the last 3 outs of the game are as high pressure as you can get. You got to have a finisher out there.
So who's the guy that you want? Because the truth is...
Well, that I don't know. I didn't get that far.
Because it's not like, okay, if there's 7 closers on the market, and the guys that might be available are going to have some question marks to it too. I agree that they need to beef up the leverage situations, but sometimes finding that guy, you can't go out and necessarily make it happen. Like they tried Helsley. They've tried a bunch of guys over the years, closers. I mean, remember they had Mojica, then he got hurt and couldn't get anyone out. They ended up going with Jason Mott. They had
Fernando Salas.
Salas, who was great and then wasn't great. Ryan
spent
Franklin
on Greg Holland, remember?
And then they spent some coin on him, and it was a disaster. It's not worked out a lot. I'm not disputing your point that they need a guy in the mix, maybe another arm in the mix, but it's not like, okay, let's go to the closer shop and pick up a couple.
Just go shopping. That's all.
You know what? I'd give Hicks a shot.
Yeah.
Just a couple. And, I mean, most of these closers anyways throw over 100 nowadays from what I've seen. I don't know. I'd give him a shot.
Give the man a
stats,
shot.
If what Cole's saying.
The problem with Hicks is that he doesn't come into games sometimes throwing strikes.
True.
Okay.
That's,
Shane
a
did.
that's a problem.
For a closer. To Cole's point, though, about Goldschmidt, I'm not saying that that's not an interesting topic. I'm not saying it's not a relevant topic. I think because you know how John Mozeliak and Bill DeWitt do business. For example, this offseason, we all said, it'd be great if they got Justin Verlander. You just knew the Cardinals aren't going to, and by the way, Verlander banged up and not pitching great. But my point is more so, they're not going to give a guy a Max Scherzer deal, a 3-year, $120 million deal. So in the same breath, I think it's interesting to talk about trading Paul Goldschmidt. I just see almost a 0% chance of that happening because I don't think that's the way the Cardinals do business. And even if the Cardinals sell at the deadline, where I think it probably makes sense for them to sell this year, it won't be a full-on rebuild. They'll still want to be good next year. So, you guys tell me. And I'd love to hear the answers. Maybe I'm wrong. How are the Cardinals better in 2024 without Paul Goldschmidt? Who are you getting back? Now, if you want to say you get 4 prospects and you're good 3 years from now, I think that's a fair argument. I don't think that's what the Cardinals want to do. The Cardinals, if they have a bad 2023, they want to rebound next year and make the playoffs. So I don't know how you're better trading Paul Goldschmidt this year when you're still trying to win next year.
Yeah, Cole.
No, I'm saying. I think this is an interesting argument.
Well,
I'm not saying you're wrong.
I thought about this, and what I don't want is trading for a bunch of AA prospects. I want prospects who are kind of in that Jordan Walker phase where they just came up, they're still young, but they still got a long way to go. And so that way the development period's only 2 or 3 years and not 5 or 6. So I would prefer that route. Now, I don't have a specific name in mind, so it's kind of easy for me to come on the radio and request this without having a specific team to trade with or a specific player to trade for. But that's what I would look for, just because I don't want to be the one left holding the bag, because the Cardinals are not known to spend a bunch of money in the offseason. But then if you sign a Paul Goldschmidt, who's probably going to require a decent amount of money even at ages 37 and 38, because somebody's going to be willing to pay him. And if it's the Cardinals, I'm going to be looking at that I don't want to hang on to him when he's getting ready to fall off a cliff at some point.
But that's next year's problem, by the way. If Paul Goldschmidt does fall off a cliff next year, I think it's an easy call for the Cardinals not to resign him. But he has another year of control.
But then you don't get anything for losing him.
That's fair.
Listen,
that's the whole point.
Listen,
You could trade him next year at the deadline, though, also.
you could play the long game, but you also got to figure out the rest of this season and next season. Next season, they're not going to get someone that's going to post better numbers than Paul Goldschmidt. So I agree with Charlie. They're not going to be better without Paul Goldschmidt. And you can pick up a couple of prospects, and we've seen it, like a guy, like a Yepes, who's a good player, who just kind of regressed and is back at AAA. Or Burleson. Both of these guys were on fire and were legitimate prospects and have struggled at the major league level, which happens to young guys sometimes. Sometimes you need a shot, then you go back down, you work it out, you come back up. But if you're depending on those guys to replace a Paul Goldschmidt, it likely isn't going to work out.
Right. I guess my point would be, to rebut a little bit, is that Paul Goldschmidt absolutely has more value now than he does at next year's deadline, because that's one more year of club control for whichever team you send him to, so that can get you more. So I would rather, if you really feel like that this season is over come, let's say, July 12th instead of June 12th, if it's another month of bad baseball and you think, okay, it's time to pack it up and move on for next season, I'm not sitting around waiting to trade Paul Goldschmidt at next year's deadline, and I also don't want to do just a one and done season where now he's a free agent and I get nothing back in return for losing him. I would rather do it now, and that's going to be something that, again, I don't think they're going to do that, because that's a really exciting trade and a great route for radio, and I don't think it's going to happen, because I don't think we're going to be that fortunate for something that exciting to happen in the trade market. But I think it would be in the best interest, because it would get you the biggest haul that you could get for him.
Yeah, I don't know if it would. I mean, I think the main thing is, are they better next year? And there's a gamble by keeping them. there's a gamble by trading him. The gamble, if you keep him and he's still good, is can you get him to stay in St. Louis? And I think he wants to stay in St. Louis. So it's kind of assessing the risk of that particular gamble. And I bet you the Cardinals believe if he has a great season, they'll work it out where he can stay without paying him till he's 43 years old.
I can just
Cole,
see
did you miss radio over the weekend? I could tell you did.
No,
I could tell you did. You probably wanted to call in Sunday, too, to the Sunday
yeah.
show.
Oh, I called into Eye on the Outdoors.
You miss radio.
The topsoil outside with the rain
funny.
yesterday was a little bit damp.
All right, we got to probably go to break here. What do you got, Charlie?
Just one more thing on Paul Goldschmidt.
All right.
I'm not so sure that Paul Goldschmidt's going to age so poorly like some other guys do. He's really good defensively. He's a good baseball player. He's a good base runner. He was the MVP in his age 34 season. He's putting up a 139 OPS plus in his age 35 season. I'm not saying the Cardinals should sign him to a 2-year extension, but I would also bet on that guy aging a lot better. I mean, he stays in shape. He's just he's a good overall baseball player.
Yeah.
They DH him a lot to rest him.
Yeah.
So I think if anybody ages into age 37, I would bet on somebody like that more than other guys.
And if you were just going to make him a DH when he gets older, pretty good DH.
Yeah, I think very highly of Paul Goldschmidt, and I always liked him.
Seems like you hate him.
I know, you kind of
Why do you hate him?
Because he's too stoic.
He was waiting all weekend to talk.
No. No, I loved him in Arizona. I thought that playing on bad teams, he kind of didn't get enough publicity, and coming here and getting an MVP, I think is fantastic. And I still think he's fantastic right now. I just worry about what he's going to look like 3 years from now, and because we see guys get, my gosh, like actually, I don't even want to bring that. That would have been a horrible comparison to bring up Miguel Cabrera and what he looks like at his age right now. But I just think at some point the regression is going to be there. And Cardinals fans right now, with what they're experiencing with Adam Wainwright, I don't think they want to tolerate another hometown guy like, oh, Paul Goldschmidt, you won an MVP for us a few years ago. That's so exciting. Oh, we'll tolerate you kind of aging out on us. I don't think they want that.
But look at Miguel Cabrera's numbers. He fell off a cliff. Waino was hurt for a good 3 years. Waino had the bad last month. All due respect, I mean, Paul Goldschmidt, he's going to be a Hall of Famer.
Dude.
He's consistent as hell.
He is.
I hope
he really is.
And if he does get to the Hall of Fame, his speech is going to be unbelievable.
Oh, it is, isn't
Because
it?
he is not stoic.
It's going to be riveting.
Laughs.
Jokes. Dirty jokes.
I wonder if winning the
Working blue.
MVP in St. Louis might get him a Cardinals cap in Cooperstown, because he spent the majority of his career in Arizona, but to have that take place here and just, yeah, I mean, I don't know how many times he made the playoffs in Arizona, but it wasn't much.
I can tell you. I know Cam wants to break.
We should probably break.
How about I just answer that question?
Yeah.
He made the
answer
playoffs.
question.
He made the playoffs in 11, in 17, and that's it. Cardinals, he made it obviously in 19, 20, 21, and 22.
All right, so more playoff appearances here.
Yep.
He might be wearing a Cardinals cap.
In Cole's scenario, Gorman, Burleson, or maybe Donovan could play first base and trade Goldie for starting pitching. Not saying that that should happen, but how many starting pitchers do we have under contract next year? I'm just saying, Jerry Spencer.
Do not play Burleson at first base. I saw it in Cincinnati. It didn't look good.
How many other first basemen in the league would you take over Goldie? Ooh.
For one season or for the next 3 or 4?
It's a great argument. I'm just saying I don't think the Cardinals are going to do it.
Yeah.